Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Checking in on the MJ space, so we have CGC with a new daily lower high of 41.65, continual lower highs. We know our double bottom of support. If I'm being completely honest before we get into this, I don't really have any interest in Canadian MJ right now. I'm watching the APHA and the CRON equilibrium out of the corner of my eye. I'm only half watching USMJ. I'm focused on cryptocurrency right now. I'm more interested in USMJ than Canadian MJ, so the fact that I've got cryptocurrency as a top priority the last couple weeks, USMJ as a priority over the next couple of months heading into the fall, Canadian MJ is tier 3 for me, and I just haven't made any Canadian MJ trades in a while, and the market is doing similar things, focusing on other stuff. So for CGC bulls to perk up my attention, we have to break 41.65 to confirm a daily trend change. We have to get over exponential resistances. We have to see them bull cross. The same thing we've been saying video after video as to what is needed for the momentum shift to take place to grab interest from the bulls. We're certainly seeing the narrative in Canada. It's a bearish narrative. That's not surprising when the price action does this, but I think there's competition. I think that people like myself and other traders that are interested in this space, the more dollars that are going to USMJ, the less dollars are going to Canadian MJ. And I do think that there is a little bit of competition with where we stand right now as far as where the retail dollar is going. And retail money is significant in this market, less so in Canada because there are institutions involved. But in the US, retail money, it's pretty much all that's being traded right now. So it is significant in that regard. So break 41.65, I'll pay attention to the bulls, but if we don't, we're going to be watching for the potential of a lower low. If 38.38 were to break, there's a lack of support here. 36.86 would be a level that we'd be watching, and then it would pretty much be the monthly time frame with a bit of a fake out, almost a double top here with our high, low, lower high, and it looked like we were going to have a nice equilibrium. The bulls quickly turned things around, and we said, wait a second, are we going to all-time highs that quick? And now we're fading back down and watching for the potential of this monthly range to continue to tighten a bit. So it's all about that low of 38.38 and the daily resistance of 41.65. CRON is close to a bear break. We're watching the equilibrium here as well. I've been saying the most important levels for me are 15.25 and 16.90. Those levels have not broken yet, but if we don't see a green day tomorrow for CRON, that level is in jeopardy of breaking. If we break 15.25, it's 15.02, and then a gap fill. And again, we have not confirmed a daily trend change. We saw a huge bull move on CRON, significant percentage gain, about 40%. And we have given a whole lot of that back with this pullback. Have not changed the daily trend. APHA, we're watching the 2-day time frame as we keep pointing out in these videos. 2-day equilibrium to be watching. We've got our high, low, lower high, higher low, lower high, and now we're pulling back for our higher low. Anything above 635 keeps that support intact. We can pull back 5% and still be comfortably above that support level. I don't anticipate a break here until next week and maybe even late next week. It may take a while. We could easily trade within this range for another 5+ days. We've only got another day and a half here on the US side of things this week. So patiently waiting on this, because if this breaks bull, again, I'll be interested. That'll be a shift in momentum that would catch my eye. But if we don't, I don't care about what APHA is doing. Bulls have to prove it to us. ACB starting its consolidation. We have our low of 701. We have our top at 798. We've got a resistance zone in the low $8 range. Have to hold a support level, find a new higher low on ACB, and then see continuation to change this daily trend. Otherwise, the bulls prove nothing. TLRY was even having a disappointing day. After getting close to seeing this continuation, we have now rejected, and if we drop down and break 45.90 support, that loses the daily uptrend, and that's now a lower high and lower low. So TLRY and MedMen have had some of our best bounces. Speaking of which, I don't have MedMen on here, need to add that. But TLRY and MedMen have had some of our best bounces from the lows. But as we've been talking about, we have to change the weekly trend. So the change of the daily trend is great, but once you change that daily trend, you zoom out to the weekly and you say, okay, solid move, but anything under 54.10 is just a weekly lower high. So we're in a scenario where if we lose the daily uptrend, the bulls have to hold a higher low compared to 34.25 and then see continuation to confirm the weekly trend change after confirming the daily trend change. So we're not in weekly consolidation mode yet, but if we lose the daily uptrend and 45.90 breaks, then we will be. OGI, bulls not proving anything to us here as well. Big red day and pulling back down towards 602. Bulls have to hold 602 and break 670 at this point, close at the low of the day. The bears have momentum in their favor, and it's just a question of whether support can hold and give the bulls a chance, or whether we are going to drop to lower lows. Hexo, weak. New daily lower high is 554, and we're heading back down to our support of 503. And if 503 breaks, it's just continuation of the daily lower high and lower low pattern. TRST doing nothing. Still holding support of 650, but if 650 breaks, it's a triple bottom at this point. After 650, there's a lack of support. We would be looking down at 594, the must-hold level. That's our monthly higher low. The bulls are trying to form an equilibrium here, but 594 has to hold in order for the bulls to have any hope. And we're going to see a break of this range probably within the next 2 days, either a bull break of 674 or a bear break of 650. Certainly the bears are favored at this point. VFF, we're watching the 2-week equilibrium. For our weekly higher low to be set in that pattern, the bulls have to hold 1080 and break 1179. That would change the daily trend, and that would have us looking for the 2-week higher low to be established. But we have to change that daily trend. Bulls have to prove it on the daily, and they are not doing it at this point. T-God also topping out a bit. We've got resistance at 331. Our support is down at 310. Bulls would have to hold 310 and break 331 to shift this momentum. The daily exponential resistance continues to drive the price down. There is not a whole lot in Canadian MJ that is bullish right now. USMJ is a different story. USMJ is still struggling, absolutely. They have to prove it to us, but at least they have bounced 10, 15, 20% off their lows, and they have that much space to work with, where a name like T-God has only bounced 6% off its lows and does not have space to work with. VGW does stand out for the bulls in the MJ space in Canada, and we have our support still holding at 406, and the bulls are trying to make their way back up and get some follow through. 436 breaking would be notable, and again, this monthly time frame is one of the better looking Canadian MJ charts you're going to find in Canada, with the monthly higher low, with the potential bull flag, with the potential catalyst heading into the fall, October and December, for edibles and extraction plays. So that is worth keeping an eye on. And it's notably standing out comparative to everybody else. So now we're getting into USMJ. And again, bulls still have proving to do, certainly not on IIPR. That has been a shining star. But we have the 4-hour equilibrium on IIPR that is about to break with our high, low, lower high, higher low. Lower high is now set. Bulls have to hold 118.01 to stay in this pattern. With a red day tomorrow, we'll be at risk of breaking this pattern, which would lose the daily uptrend, which would mean weekly consolidation is underway, and we would anticipate a weekly higher low. And I know there's a lot of bulls that missed this run who are longing for bullish gains in the MJ space, who are eyeing a potential entry in IIPR on weekly consolidation. And just as an example, gold had a very significant bull breakout and ran pretty wild. And then we got that brief weekly consolidation, and bulls were there to buy that dip. So watching to see if IIPR will be similar on its weekly consolidation, as the S&P 500 just had its all-time high close today. Strongest close ever today, not its all-time high, but right there knocking on the door. Curaleaf still weak. I am interested in a long position in Curaleaf, but I have no plans on establishing anything soon. I started trading OH and IAN because we were crushed to the downside. We're not crushed. This is a slow motion falling knife. Not really a falling knife, but a slow motion bleed. So 923 is a gap fill that has filled. 9 psychological is support. And after 9 psychological, we're going to be looking down towards 881 and 815. Still no sign of the bulls. I'll be watching close for when this exponential resistance, which has rejected the last 4 bounce attempts, when that turns into support and we get the bull cross to those levels, it will be notable. But until then, Not interested. I would have to see a drop into the mid $8 range within the next couple days for this daily RSI to get oversold and for the 4-hour and shorter term time frames to get oversold enough for me to be interested. So interested big picture, but not interested short term because there is no clear setup that I like for an entry. IAN. So when you get comfortable with trading, IAN was easy in terms of knowing that we were very likely to pull back today for a number of reasons. Number one, Canadians could not take profit yesterday. We had some gains in IAN, so Canadians had an opportunity today to sell a bit. And you know that when you're in a daily downtrend, that's another reason. Number two, we're in a daily downtrend. Number three, we just bounced 20% in a daily downtrend in 5 days. We have not changed the trend. We double topped at resistance on the US side of things. If Canada were trading that day, we would have looked to have topped out at about 475 or so, 470, and that would have been a double top. So we now have a scenario where the bulls have to form a higher low compared to 387 and then break resistance of 447 to change the daily trend, get over the exponential resistance, and shift this momentum. I sold about a third of my holdings yesterday, and I will look to reload only if we break to lower lows and we get to extreme RSI levels. Again, at this point, very comfortable with where my position stands. And again, just continuing at this point, I think it's the third or fourth time I've done it where I sell into strength, rebuy weakness, and just continuously lowering my cost basis and my break-even point on my position and patiently waiting for a daily trend change that will happen at some point. But I now have a whole lot of cash freed back up in case we drop to lower lows. CWEB, bull break. CWEB stood out. Why is CWEB running? No news. There is a group pumping it, or it was put out as a pick. I don't know the exact details. Motley Fool, perhaps, I believe, is where it was on. Our members were talking about it. We had some good information from our members, but it was put out as a pick. It changed the daily trend by getting over 2070. It's clearly standing out as it did on the initial bull move. It's standing out as the lead USMJ name, technically speaking, right now, of course, aside from IIPR. But that's a notable bull break. The bull MACD, or the bull exponential moving average cross, is closing in. The bull volume is certainly there. Weekly time frame, let's not lose sight. We're going to form a weekly lower high because our last one was 33.77, and we will have to change the weekly trend, just like TLRY, just like MedMen. Any of these names, changing the daily trend is great, but we have to change the weekly trend to have significant follow through from there. So if we lose the hourly uptrend on CWEB, anything above 17.14 will be a daily higher low. And a nice strong close, we'll see what the bulls can do with it. 21.68 is the next key resistance, and then there's a gap fill at 22.92. OH, just trading sideways here. I'm going to exit my position at 850. If that breaks, I will lock in my profit from my entry back here June 14th, and that will just keep me protected because it is a potential weekly bear flag, as we've been pointing out. The daily trend change with a lack of follow through means zoom out and look for a potential flag. That is possible, and if 850 were to break, the odds of a weekly bear flag would increase a good bit. So I'm going to stay conservative and not just buy and hold and hope for a momentum shift. I need to see that momentum shift if I'm going to be looking for holding anything in this space for the rest of the year. TRUL, trying to change its daily trend as well. 15.17 is the level, looking fairly similar to CWEB in how it's attempting this trend change, but we have to break 15.17. And again, if we were to do that, and if we were to not follow through, we would zoom out to the weekly, and we would watch for the potential of a weekly bear flag. Have to see a bull break of 15.17, and ideally make our way up towards 16 next week to be believers in these bulls. Anything above 13.54 is a daily higher low. MedMen is continuing strong. So MedMen has a pattern of a higher low every day. And once that pattern breaks, we're going to look for a healthy daily higher low to form. But it's continuing to shine after its clear bull break occurred. The bull cross of the exponential moving averages. We know we have to change the weekly trend with a higher low and higher high at some point. But we have not, until we lose the daily uptrend, we're not looking at weekly consolidation. So MedMen standing out as a lead USMJ bull, technically speaking, as is CWEB. And we'll see if the other names can try and follow along. We did just get some news. I actually have to do more reading about it, so I'm not going to give too much of my uneducated opinion on it. But it is news that it was being introduced into Congress to potentially end federal prohibition. And it wasn't necessarily deciding or discussing whether or not to end it. It was almost like the topic was when, or I should say how to end it. So that's a very key shift, and we haven't had the government talking about these things at this level really ever. So we'll see what comes of it. We know it's just a slow move forward in terms of getting these shifts to take place, and we are watching for a catalyst in the USMJ space that I feel the market is waiting for right now. No idea when it's going to come, but that is where eyes are watching as far as best opportunity, risk to reward, when that strikes. And we'll certainly be here when that happens. So I appreciate you watching. Do good things out there. Don't have an end of the day video, but got some produce fresh from the garden to share. Some big cucumbers still popping off. Big zucchini. I'm still at my temporary spot with my temporary garden going. And what I did was I bought pickles from the farmer's market, and I ate all the pickles, and then I had all this juice, and then I just stick my green beans, and I got a bunch of sour gherkin cucumbers in there, and now I have pickles. You can make your own pickles.